We've had a bit of a clear out in greenhouse this weekend. There's loads of room in that bench now for new projects because we've moved everything down to that other greenhouse where we've actually just planted this first 2 tomato plants that year, and we're keeping all those down there now because that greenhouse is a little bit more shaded on the back end than this one is, so we don't have to worry too much about plants wilting when it gets really hot through May. But meanwhile, back in here, we've cleared a space because we've got things that we need to be sorting out. If you're not careful, things like this are just going to run away with you. We've just multi-sowed lots of stuff for pricking out later on. They're cauliflowers, and they're quite good sized plants. But we don't want to leave them in these containers for too long, or else they'll be too tangled to prick out and move on. Things like spinach, we're not too bothered about because we can let them grow as a big bunch, and then at some point we can move it into a bigger container because obviously those roots are going to start coming out bottom. So what else to do on a rainy weekend but look at all these plants and make sure there's things that we haven't missed. But we've got that spinach, we've got a bit of a problem with his little gem. We've left him a bit too long. There's lots and lots of plants in there, but because we've been doing other jobs, we've overlooked how fast these were growing. So all these little jobs need sorting out. And we've got some nice sized calabrese plants and a few more Durham cabbage. The only ones that haven't done really well out of these is these hearting lettuce. All the little gems are fine, but the germination on these, considering they're all brand new seeds, hasn't been so good. But we have still got a few good sized plants in there that we can take out and move on and make up maybe a pack of 6, which is good enough because we can always regrow lettuce really quickly. And then last, we've got a multi-sown container of parsley, which will be staying as it is, and then we'll move it into a bigger container again. But while we're getting carried away with the jobs out there, we definitely need to keep an eye on what's happening in here, because we need to prick these out, we need to move them on, and then we need to sow fresh seeds so we can keep consistently getting a supply of seedlings all the way through May, June and into July. And we only have to move those seedlings into trays that big because all we're trying to do is separate these little plants so they've got their own growing space. And the longer we wait, the more they'll get tangled, the difficulter that job's going to be. So I've decided I'm going to move some of these little gems because they're the ones that are most compact. And if we leave them too long, we could end up with no plants at all. And you've seen me do this a million times, so you know it is a quick, easy job to do. So there's no reason not to do it. Especially when we've got rain forecast for the next 7 to 8 days now. But there's one good thing about it raining, with it being light rain and no wind. All the plants are now outside on that spare table that we've got. So they're getting a nice steady watering. That's saving us another job. And although you've seen me do this before, we do get quite a few new subscribers every day. And it's nice to remain consistent so people don't miss out on anything. And this one's going to be a bit of a test because it is so compact. And when we get plants like that, we're going to basically have to take out big chunks of plant like that. And you can see that they're also quite long. And that's something we don't want either. They've got a bit of root, but they've also got quite a long stem. So when we move them on, we have to bury them right down to there. Otherwise, your lettuce plants start falling over as they're growing. So, just for the sake of any people that's recently joined, we'll just do a couple of these. You can see that is very long. It's as long as 2 of those cells. So we have to push it in as deep as we possibly can, right down, so there's only those little leaves sticking out at top. And that's perfect. It's one of those jobs that you do that you put off and you put off, but then when you actually come to do it, because it's so quick and easy to do, you wonder why you waited so long. That's another done. And you can see how easy these are separating. As we work through getting the biggest plants that we can find and just shoving them down like that, and we're done. Quick and easy. You get the idea. I'm not going to bore you by doing the old tray. So as you saw, really quick and easy to do. But another thing you have to watch out for with these plants, and it's especially with brassicas, is how long they'll get if you leave them. They become really long, leggy plants. And of course, when they get to this long, you've got to put them in a deeper pack because there's too much stem to bury in a small one. So once again, the sooner you get them out, the better off you are. And we don't seem to be doing too bad with cauliflowers this year. We've got a couple in containers that's now started to form a nice white head, and we've got one in that greenhouse that's got a really big head on it. So that's why we've sown some fresh ones, and it'd be a shame to let them go to waste. And something like that is your better option. These have got quite deep cells, so you're going to be able to push a lot of that stem down. So now we're looking at these bigger cells because we can sink as plants down a lot deeper, and it's important to do that, otherwise you end up with really long stems on your brassicas, and then as they're growing they're going to start to lay on the side, and that's going to lead to leaf rot, which is going to attract slugs, and they're going to ruin your plants anyway. So the more stretch you can take out your plants, the better. So let's have a look what the situation is in this one. We get a bunch together again like we did with that lettuce and just dig in. We'll just take a clump out. And now you can see exactly how stretched those plants are. So they're easily separated. And they're not huge plants at the moment, and not many have actually even started getting the true leaves. But once they get to this stage, we can't really leave them to grow any longer. So you're better off doing that now. So if we just drop that in, we need to get rid of all that stem. And because these cells are so deep, it's really easy to do. And now we've got a nice little compact plant. And because we've multi-sown so many, we've got the luxury of selecting the biggest ones. We won't need them all, but it's nice to be able to pick and choose the best plants. So once again, a couple of minutes and we've sorted those cauliflowers out. Very quick, simple, worthwhile jobs to be doing over at weekend. And we've ended up with a couple of packs now sorted out. Loads of little gem lettuce and those really leggy cauliflowers. And those plants will just grow on quite happily. And in a week or so, they'll be that size. And a few weeks later, they'll be this size. And these are now ready to be moved on wherever we're going to be putting them. And last year we put about 8 plants in one of these, so we'll probably do that again because it's a small area, it's not a lot of compost, and we got really good results from those little gems. That's a job for another day. And those cauliflowers, once again, after only a couple of weeks, will end up being this big. And in about 4 weeks, they'll be that big. And they're big enough to be planting outside now. So it's very important that when you see these little pots not to ignore them. Get done whatever you can, and you haven't got to use every single plant in that pot. You just want to select the biggest, strongest looking plants. And over the next couple of months, you'll end up with a lot more seedlings than you thought. If you want to see the jobs that we'll be doing over the next few days, please hit that subscribe button and press that notifications bell. And we look forward to seeing you then. Take care.